My name is Kyla Benson. I'm the director.
Oh, Kyla.
Okay. Well, hi again, everybody.
Okay.
My name is Kyla Benson. I am the director of events with the East Colorado Small Business Development Center. We're very excited to have all of you here online with us to celebrate one of our last sessions as far as National Small Business Week goes. The Small Business Development Center offers some confidential business consulting in addition to workshops and trainings, one in which that you're joining with us here today. We're very excited again to be bringing this topic to you, mission and employee alignment. And I am joined with Carl with Small Fish Business Coaching. And Carl, without any further ado, we have an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to you for today's presentation.
Thank you, Kyla. And I so much appreciate all the work that you've done to bring small businesses a bunch of resources in the area. This is awesome. I love working with SBDCs around the state. So thank you for that. Yeah, so I am Carl Deershaw, and sometimes people can't see the video that I have here. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It can be a little bit flaky sometimes. So I put up a slide with my photo on it. Of course, nobody really knows. Nobody really likes their own photo. You know how that works. But I'm a small business coach here in Fort Collins. Small Fish is actually an international organization. We have some people in Australia, and then we have one person in the United States, namely me. Because, of course, Fort Collins, that's where you would do it, of course. So I'm in Fort Collins, but I serve clients worldwide. I have people in Asia and South America and all over the United States. But of course, it's easiest to work with people who are here local. And so I do a lot of work here with local clients in Northern Colorado, meeting in person or meeting over the phone or Skype or whatever, because coaching is about conversation. It works very well in a internet kind of medium. So what I'm focusing on is building people that build amazing companies with purpose and success. So it's one thing to have purpose, and that's great. We all have our passions, and you know, some of us might even articulate a mission in life. But the fact is that making a successful and sustainable business out of that is not necessarily an easy thing to do. And so that's one of the things that I do when I work with my clients, is how can we have a business that fulfills your personal needs, have the business survive and serve its clients and customers and employees well, and be sustainable over the long term, so that you can continue doing what you're doing. So that's what I work with people on. So let's dig into the content here. All right. So your mission might be any number of things. And here I'm talking about the mission of the company, all right? And sometimes there's a big overlap with your personal passions and mission and purpose and things like that. And sometimes there's not. Either way is okay. That's not a problem. So, you know, people might be thinking about the mission of your company is to make money, to be environmentally sustainable, to address a critical problem. Maybe you're particularly focused on a very dear need that needs to be addressed. And I'll show you a bunch of examples of this. I've seen companies that are all about creating an amazing employee culture, and I'll show you some of those as well. And, you know, in general, maybe I'm out to change the world, you know, whether it's feeding starving children in Africa or bringing some new technology that's going to blow people away and change their lives, you know, any number of things. So, you know, any of these can be your mission. The question is, what is your mission? Because you're going to design your business around it. It's going to be sort of the heart and soul and center of what this company is about. And so this ends up being a very personal thing. Just because you see other businesses that you admire doesn't necessarily mean that you would want to adopt their mission. So let's look at some things here of how do we create a mission. Well, first, what's the top driving force? You know, if you're going to do something in the world that's going to matter, to make a difference, and that you would be proud of, what would it be? At this stage, we don't necessarily even know what your products and services are, or the company structure, or that kind of thing. So we need to start off with this driving force. So where's your heart? And one of the ways of stating this is what breaks your heart that you see out there that you would like to fix? Many people phrase it that way. It's like, you know, it just breaks my heart when I see so many people that don't know where their next meal is coming from. And, you know, it really hurts me. And so I would like to create a company that helps people to have this kind of security. Well, maybe it's a financial company, maybe it's a product company, maybe it's some services. There's, you know, maybe it's helping people with jobs. Could be all kinds of things. So, but that's an example of how we would have a real heart-centered mission to this business. Okay, and what would you want to dedicate your life to? In this case, what do you want to dedicate your company's life to? And say, if this is what we're all about, I will be happy, and the company will be happy. The two are different things, by the way, and that's something that we can talk about a little bit more. Another thing that we can test this with is, what is it that you would never give up? Okay. As a matter of fact, I've heard people that would say that I would rather take the company down and just shut it off than not do this. It is that important to me. All right. Now we're digging into where your heart really is, and what that mission is when you're that dedicated to a cause. Doesn't have to be a charitable cause, and you know, but this is in the space of charities and nonprofits and for-profits kind of all interleaving. And one of the things that's so exciting these days is that there are now new business structures which can combine for-profit and nonprofit in creative ways. And so if there's something that's tugging on your heart and you're saying, but it feels like maybe, should it be a for-profit or nonprofit? I'm not sure. Let's talk about that. That's a good quandary to have, and there's a range of possibilities, actually. You know, partnership things and B corporations and all kinds of stuff that we can't get into. But, you know, don't give up just because you're stuck on this issue of the for-profit versus nonprofit. That's actually a great place to be. And when you're mission-driven, that kind of thing can come up fairly often. Okay, so now how do we engage employees? Well, the standard picture of this is that employees will be engaged when you're a leader. So you've got great leadership skills and you're inspiring and, you know, yeah, very articulate and a great person, and you're going to capture their hearts. Well, this is interesting because it's not the complete picture. When we look at what the company does, all right, actually, this is not as strong as it could be. It tends to be actually a little bit weak. There's something that's much stronger, which is the big why behind the company. And so when you capture people's emotions and involvement because of the why, you know, okay, so we're going out and we're addressing the needs of people who don't know where their next meal is coming from, right? Well, I, as an employee, I also worry about that. As a matter of fact, you know, I spent 5 years of my life in that state, and it really, really was so troublesome. I would now like to help other people through that because it tugs at my heart as well. Well, I'd be a great employee for this company. So let's think about this, that it's not just what the company does. That's fine. You know, we deliver this service, we deliver this product, we manufacture this. That's fine. Okay, that's kind of the stuff that usually appears in a job description. Okay. But what doesn't tend to appear in a job description so much is, why is the company doing it? What's really the driving force? The driving force is the mission. So if anybody wants to pipe up and interject a question, I'd be glad to entertain. You know, feel free to interrupt at any time. So, you know, what does this kind of engagement look like? And I think that Herb Kelleher said it best, really captured it for me. So do employees feel like they're participating in a crusade, and they have a sense of purpose beyond just receiving a paycheck twice a month? And, you know, I would say that well over 95% of employees do not have this kind of passion and relationship with their job. Okay, there's not a big crusade that they're on. There's not a bigger purpose that just, you know, fills them up in a joyful way. Instead, they have the anxieties of the fact that their boss is beating them up and they're under pressure and there's lots of stuff to do, you know. And so it's a very pressure-oriented kind of relationship with the employer, rather than coming from a grounding of joy and purpose. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. So what I decided to do is to put together a number of examples that we can throw up. Some of these you'll recognize and some you may not. So one example that people talk about is Southwest. So this is, all of these examples are things that I pulled from the company's website where they talk about the company. So this is not hidden stuff. Any company that's worth its salt, if it wants to make a difference in the marketplace, should be telling the world, should be screaming to the world, this is what we're about. Not just for customers, but for employees as well. And for investors, if you're a public company, you know, all of this is very important to see what's the big why. So the way Southwest articulates it, we exist to connect people to what's important in their lives through friendly, reliable, and low-cost air travel. And you can see that this is perhaps much different than what we think other airlines might do, where it's all about, well, so we're going to deliver air travel, and it's going to be on time and high quality, and we're going to deliver value to our investors because it'll be very efficient. That's fine. It doesn't grab my soul in a way where I believe that I connect people to what's important in their lives. Okay, that's something that could apply to an airline, but it could apply to lots of different kinds of businesses as well. Okay, and so it's much deeper than just saying we're an airline. So that's a great example. And of course, we all know the results that Southwest gets. They're one of the leaders. They've been one of the leaders for a good long time. They're super respected in the industry. Whether or not you actually like flying on Southwest yourself, you know, I mean, there's parts about the experience that may not be for you, and that's fine. But that doesn't mean you don't respect them as a company in the way that they run. So let's look at another example, one that is very popular here local. So New Belgium Brewing, so they're a beer company, and they're pretty darn successful. One of the largest microbrew companies in the entire nation. They're available, the products are available in most states now, I think, across the US. You know, so they're growing rapidly and doing good stuff. The thing that's interesting about this is that New Belgium isn't really about brewing and selling beer. Okay, that happens to be the product that they're selling. But they're really about having their business be a force for good. Now, what do they mean by this? Well, you dig into it, And the bullet points underneath this say things like environmental sensitivity and sustainability. Okay, so they do a lot of work on how water is conserved and reused, because brewing is very water intensive. And so because eastern Colorado is part of the Great American Desert, uh, it makes total sense that we should be spending attention to environmental sensitivity, particularly water. But of course, they worry about other things as well, like all of the waste products. When they brew, they give the excess used hops and stuff to farmers in the area, so that it can be eaten by cows and whatever. The other thing, though, is the force for good to them also means an employee-owned, employee-driven company. And it's an outstanding management structure, quite different than you see most any place else. And that's also what they mean by being a force for good. And in that case, it's in the community. And us in Fort Collins, we see New Belgium all the time in that they do a lot of things in the area. We've got the bike events and all of these other things. And that's all a part of being a good citizen in their local community. That's what they're really about. And then, of course, they provide their customers favorite brands because they're a beer company. Fine. At the end of the day, you do need to make money off something. And it would be good if you're good at it and not just, have it be junk, because you're going to want to make a sustainable company. So there's another example. If you want to ask a question anytime, just pipe on in. Otherwise, I'll keep talking until I fall over. Okay, let's take a look at Patagonia. So this was interesting. What they say on their website about their purpose is build the best product, cause no unnecessary harm, use business to inspire, and implement solutions to the environmental crisis. Okay, now how awesome is that? So clearly they are in a environmental sensitivity and good world citizen point of view. But we put in some other things here too. Use business to inspire. How many people ever say something like that? And yet Patagonia has it in their mission statement. And of course, so they're going to also build the best product. Isn't it interesting that they don't even bother at this level to say what product that is? I don't know that if they're if they're delivering life insurance, it's not really the heart and soul. Of course, now we do know what Patagonia products look like, and that's great and everything like that. But it doesn't stop at making a great product, therefore we make money, therefore we are happy. That's not how this company works. We've got these other elements in there as well. Okay, so we got some more examples here. Here's an interesting one. I love the concept behind Life is Good. They do t-shirts and stuff because it's so incredibly simple. Okay, how many people can capture their mission in 5 words? That's just amazing to me. Spread the power of optimism. Okay, and I mean, if we wanted it simpler, we could just be spread optimism, right? Because that's really what they're about. So it's amazing that they can say, it's not really about the products that we do. Yeah, we do sell products because that's how we make this sustainable. But we want to make a difference to the world by the number of smiles per day. We want more people to smile. We want more people to be optimistic. That's really what we're about. And if we find in the future that selling clothing is not a great way to do that, well, we'll do something else. So it's a fascinating way to look at how important is this mission to the core of the company. So now we can go completely the other direction. So this is something that's going to, for us, it's going to feel a lot more corporate, right? Okay, so Cargill, so they do really high level agricultural stuff. They're a huge conglomerate and all kinds of stuff like that. So they have a more complex statement, but that's okay. This is the way it goes. So corporate responsibility is a company-wide commitment to apply our global knowledge and experience to help meet complex economic, environmental, and social challenges wherever we do business. And, you know, if I wanted to, I could probably crunch that down into fewer words, but this is okay. It's still very powerful to say we are going to be taking on social challenges, environmental challenges, and economic challenges. Okay? And because we're a conglomerate, we can do that in a bunch of different ways. We might be selling products over here and services over there and, you know, around the world and doing different kinds of things. We also recognize that we have global knowledge and experience, and we want to use that to help improve our world. And so even though, you know, you look at this and maybe it feels like a lot of buzzwords and stuff like that, the question that you should be asking is, do they actually do this when they're doing business? Okay, can I see this in their interactions with the outside world? Can I see this in their products and how they market themselves? And, you know, not just at the end of the year, we'll cut a big check to a charity and feel happy about that, but it really is in the core of what we do. So now here's another interesting example. Company called Qualphone here. They're actually based out of Mexico, but they do have several large sites around the United States, and I think they've got one in Canada, and, you know, so they're a worldwide organization, and they do telephone calls, either outbound to say, hey, here's our service, would you like to buy it? Or inbound, which is a customer calls up and they have a problem and they need help with it, and so we have people that can help. So there's actually companies that do this, you know. So if I want to outsource that function to another company, I would call up Qualphone and have them do it for me. So that's what the term outsourcer means. Business process outsourcer means that they're taking a business process and taking it over for you, and they're going to do a better job at it than your company does, which is why you would pay them money to do it. So in the industry, business process outsourcer is a very meaningful term, and it says that, you know, here's the boundaries that they play with in the services that they provide. What's interesting is right up there with that, they say, make people's lives better. And this particular emblem here has 7 aspects to it, if you count around. And each of those is a particular program that they do to support and enhance the lives of their employees. They are super, super passionate about this. And, you know, it's basically very much, this is why we exist, is we provide jobs for a lot of people, tens of thousands of people scattered around the world. So they're a major job producer. They're also have programs to help you with your college education, because a lot of their employees are high school age or are in college or something like that. And so they have educational assistance. They have employee support programs. I even talked to a guy in there who is the corporate chaplain. And I was thinking, oh my God, whoever has a chaplain for a company? But it's the emotional and spiritual support that he provides to people here at the site in Fort Collins. It just amazed me. And so we can see how this purpose is very, very deep, and it affects everything that they do. So it's not just about getting the cheapest employees that they can and burning them out. It's far, far different from that. Okay, so here's another one I ran across, a thing called HubSpot. So think of them as a marketing expert. They're really, really strong on social media, and you can see a little infographic down here at the bottom. They do all kinds of very good creative stuff. What's interesting is that they view their purpose as to do business transformation, particularly in the marketing side of it, but you could see how that could expand in the future. And then they have this curious phrase called "make the world more inbound." What do we suppose that means? What it really means is to have businesses listen to their customers, to their problems, to their needs, to whatever. But it really hurt them deeply to see how many businesses are disconnected from their customers. And so they said, hey, we've got marketing expertise. We're passionate about this. Let's do that. And by the way, it's also bleeds through into how they structure the company. They've got an entirely non-hierarchical company, which if you want to look into it, it's fascinating to see how do you run a business that, well, it's not that there's no leaders, it's that everybody is leader. Everybody's taking responsibility. Teams form based on what needs to be done rather than the big boss upstairs telling people what to do. And so, this is the kind of thing where they're also saying we need to transform of the face of business ourselves. And so that's why we are going to be a different kind of company than all of the other marketing experts out there. So fascinating company, and I've been following them for a few years, doing excellent stuff on the organizational side. All right. Another example that people here in Northern Colorado are very familiar with is OtterBox. So high-tech company, and they do cases for phones. I happen to have one, and after I cracked the screen on my last phone, I learned my lesson, and I went out and got an OtterBox, and the thing's been happy for 2 years now and functioned very well. But they do that kind of stuff. Now, interesting. So let's look at their mission and purpose. And you see, it doesn't actually say the products that they supply. Okay, they talk about commitment to customers, to one another. So that talks about the team-bound nature of their business, and to our community. They're great contributors in their local community. Amazing stuff that they are doing all over the Fort Collins and the region. And then they talk about we seek extraordinary, okay? So this says a lot about we want excellence in everything we do. Other people will say that they're great or their products are great or whatever, but we're always going to the level of extraordinary. And when you talk to them about how they run the company, how they market the company, you can see that this just comes out tremendously. So I have a phone case that's great, but I compared it to all of the other cases that were in the store, and so there's like 4 brands or something like that, and clearly the quality of this was much higher than any of the others. Now I paid a little bit more for it, but that's okay. I was more worried about not having my phone break again. And I know that OtterBox has an extraordinary reputation. So it's willing to me to spend a little bit extra money to get a phone case that I can rely on. And so that's an example. Even in their products, they're shooting for the extraordinary, even though you wouldn't think that a phone case is particularly extraordinary. But they are able to find that leading edge within that. Okay, so here's another example. Warby Parker. So you're probably aware of them, but they do designer eyewear. They're going for revolutionary price. Okay, so that talks about their product and their marketing and how they do it. So that's good. All right. But then the second half of the sentence is, we want to not only be a socially conscious business, but we want to lead the way on socially conscious businesses. And you can see this, as a matter of fact, that they will share best practices with others in the industry, even with their competitors, okay? Because this is a part of them leading the way for being socially conscious. And that's such a big part of what they do and why they do it. If tomorrow they find out that, eyewear isn't going to really make it anymore, maybe the market's disappeared, or, some competitor has really blown them away somehow, well, it's very easy for them to shift to a different kind of industry, but still lead the way on socially conscious business, because they have so much knowledge attached to that, so much momentum. They have a credibility in the industry based upon that. And so this is a great example of combining together the product along with the big why that is underlying it. So, okay, so that was all of the examples that I had. I'd like to open it up for questions and see what people think about. Do you have questions about this, or do you have examples of your own? Okay. All right. So let's go on to the, what are the key elements for a powerful mission statement, one that really captures your heart? First, it's straightforward. Second, it's unique. And, if it really is heart-centered, there's no question it will be unique. It's got to be authentic. So it's got to be all the way down from your actions to your design, to your heart and soul, to your, all the way from top to bottom. It needs to be consistent. Needs to be honest. People will run screaming away from what they perceive as dishonest. People are attracted towards honesty and straightforwardness. Needs to be aligned. That's part of the authenticity, but also aligned with all of the actions, aligned with your partners. There's all parts of this that are important. And that ends up giving you power. When you have all of these things working together, you have something that really is very motivating for your customers, for your investors, for your partners, for your employees. Okay, so let's look at how you use your mission. Three directions that we'll talk about today. I'm not going to talk about customers, but I really wanted to focus on aligning your employees and partners. So with your employees, what you want to do is to use this to bring forward alignment, empowerment, and retention. By empowerment, I mean that if people really get what your company is about, they are going to do a much better job of making decisions on the fly that are consistent with what you really want, rather than having to design policies and procedures and things like that. Sure, you need policies and procedures for some parts of things, but for things where you want it to be very adaptive and move quickly, empowerment is much stronger than going to policies and procedures. And if people are connected to the why of your business, then the retention is going to zoom. And I've seen this happen repeatedly. It's not just a wish. The fact is that people stick with companies that they believe in. With your partners, you're also looking for alignment. So we want people whose values are the same. And because we're aligned at that level, we'll find that partners are more effective. The decision that you would make is very much the decision that I would have made given the same information. And that's what I mean by effectiveness. So people are watching out for each other's backs, things like that. And then third, with new hires, you want to be attracting people who have the values that you're looking for. And by the way, this helps with your selection process because you can design questions and interactions so that people that aren't really aligned, sort of, it becomes apparent pretty quickly. And so it helps make the selection process much more efficient. There's lots of benefits internally for having this clarity of mission and a good, strong spoken purpose. Okay, now how do we make it real? Well, first, we use every medium available to us. So written sessions, spoken things where we're out, giving a presentation or something like that. Visual cues. You could see in a number of the examples that I showed that some of the visual aspects of logos and work sites and products supported their statement. It seemed consistent and aligned. And so you need to think about that in everything that you do. You need to do it both internally and externally. This is a constant thing, so it's going to be a part of every discussion, every interaction. It just becomes a part of who you are. You need consistency over the course of years and decades. Missions don't change that often. They really shouldn't. Otherwise, it's not really a mission, It's just sort of what you're working on right now. And that's okay. I mean, we need to work on stuff right now. I buy that. But we need to have something that's deeper. And so typically it's going to be over the course of even decades. And so think of it that way of, what would I like to commit myself and my company to for 20, 30 years, for the life of the business, okay? So you've got to put on your long-term hat and be thinking about, what's this business going to be in 50 years? What could it be in 100 years? We tend to not think that way in our society. And then I don't remember who said this, but it is such a powerful statement. Just when you're getting sick of saying it, the people that you're talking to are starting to notice. This is a natural thing. We all know that, to make a marketing impression, that you got to have multiple touches. One of the statements is that with if they've seen you 7 times, then they'll notice that you exist. If they see you like 20 times, they'll start understanding the message you're trying to send. So, even though it feels repetitive, I'd ask you to reframe that. Let's talk about consistency, okay, and the power of the message. And when you're consistent and powerful, you will say it many, 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 many times, okay, perhaps for the rest of your life. And so that's the kind of thing that's going to cause people to notice. It is what it is. Okay. Final chance for questions. Okay, great. I did want to point out something to you. I have a resource that I'd like to offer for anybody who's on the line here or anybody who sees the replay. So I've got 3 slots in the next couple of weeks that I'd love to sit down and work with you. Let's do a coaching session. Let's talk specifically about your business on specifically if you're looking at business clarity and workforce alignment, and you want to translate that into an amazing organization. Also, if you're focused and you're ready to make progress, because that's what coaching is about. It's not just about having a nice conversation and feeling good at the end of it. It's about, I want to take action. I want to do stuff. So if you're in that mode, contact me at this email address, carl.deershaw@smallfish.us. And I'd be glad to set up a time with you. I've got 3 sessions, and so I'll fit you in as available. And then this is a work session. It's not a sales pitch at all. This is about, let's sit down for an hour and let's work on your business and let's make some great progress. So to wrap it up, just wanted to give you the pointers to me and what I have going on. So I help people who are leading and growing businesses that are changing the world. People who really have a mission, they have a passion, they have the energy, and they're going to do it. That's what I work with people. Okay, smallfish.us is the website. You can check us out. Here's my email and my phone number. I do have a blog at valuesbased.biz where I talk specifically about these kinds of businesses. I have over 50 profiles at this point of various kinds of businesses, many of them here local. So you might want to check that out. You can follow me on Twitter, connect with me on LinkedIn and Facebook, and sort of like all over the interwebs. So you can connect with me that way. And if you have any questions, contact me. I'd love to chat with you. All right. Take care, everyone, and have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you.